When you finally break free from a narcissist grip, this is what they do every single day. Narcissists live in what I call the low-vibe lane. Their entire world runs on petty, invasive, and destructive habits: spying, snooping, stalking, gossiping, and constantly trying to peek into other people's lives. This isn't an occasional behavior, it's their daily rhythm. And when they realize they've lost access to you, when they finally see that they can't get back into your life no matter how hard they try, something happens. Their focus doesn't disappear. In fact, it intensifies. With nothing left to manipulate, nothing left to control, they fall into their default cycle of sitting back and watching you. The empaths, the truth-tellers, the genuine souls who actually feel. They fixate on you with a strange mix of obsession and bitterness, watching every step you take, even if it tears them apart. Here's the hard truth. Your pain used to be their favorite supply. They thrived when you were broken, when you were begging, when you were desperate enough to chase them. Whether it was a parent, a sibling, a romantic partner, a friend, or even a coworker, it didn't matter. Seeing you low gave them energy. Hearing through gossip that you were struggling gave them a twisted sense of satisfaction. They were happiest when you were down. But narcissists always overplay their hand. They push you so far that eventually you start to break free. You stop playing their game. You turn your eyes to something higher. And that's when the dynamic flips completely. Some of you are just beginning this journey. You might not feel like you're ascending yet, and that's okay. Growth doesn't always feel glamorous in the beginning. But whether you call it God, the universe, or simply the natural order of things, there are forces at work pulling you towards something better. And many of you are already on that path, healing, building, and reclaiming your life. This is the part narcissists can't stand. They wanted you stuck, trapped in their cycle of abuse. Seeing you rise makes them feel small, exposed, and deeply insecure. What used to be fun for them, watching you collapse, now becomes unbearable. And yet, perversely, they keep watching. This is where the obsession gets ugly. They start creating fake accounts to follow you online. They drop cryptic posts meant to provoke you, little jabs designed to pull you back in. They gossip in their circles, invent stories, and spread lies to keep your name alive in their world. They linger around negative supply, minions, flying monkeys, and dusty enablers who give them validation. But none of it satisfies them the way you did. Because watching you grow is both torture and fuel. It hurts them, yet they can't stop. They hover in the shadows, glued to your progress, even when it makes them feel inadequate. And this is important. Their behavior doesn't just harm you. It destroys them. Traditions across cultures, from scripture to spiritual teachings, warn against spying, gossiping, and eavesdropping because these habits rot the soul from the inside out. Narcissists ignore that wisdom. They can't help themselves, so their lives shrink into a cycle of endless monitoring and petty sabotage. What they think is control is actually self-inflicted damage. They are hurting themselves every time they feed their obsession with you. Meanwhile, your job is not to chase them, explain yourself, or try to shake them off. You won't. They'll keep watching whether you like it or not. What matters is that you keep walking your path. Protect your peace. Focus on your growth. Let silence and steady progress be the response. Because here's the paradox. The less you engage, the more power you take back. Narcissists can't handle being shut out. They can't stand being irrelevant. And when you stop feeding the game with your energy, everything changes. They were comfortable when you were down. They expected you to stay there forever. But you didn't. You rose. And the higher you climb, the more it rattles them, because it exposes everything false about the way they live. Their obsession is proof of their weakness. And your healing, your peace, your growth, your ascension is proof of your strength. One of the biggest mistakes a narcissist makes is assuming your devotion is weakness. When they read your empathy and care as something to exploit, they miscalculate. The truth is, once an empath, someone who gives lovingly and truly, closes the door for good, that's the end of the line for the narcissist. There's no easy rerun. And that finality is exactly why I always urge you to move toward that moment of closure. Shut the door. Make it final. Don't let yourself be baited back into their drama. Don't misunderstand me. This is hard. Narcissists are skilled at pulling strings and manufacturing reactions, and they'll do whatever it takes to keep you engaged. Some will rally their minions or flying monkeys to spy and spread gossip. Others keep those actions secret, doing them monitoring alone. They'll spread their attention around to other suppliers too, stepping on someone else, provoking people, or creating conflict just to feel better about themselves. It's cruel and calculated, a coping mechanism that masks the pain of watching you rise. This behavior can get extreme. I read your comments and heard your stories. People have been stalked, spied on, even hacked. I've heard about cloned cards, breached accounts, and people going into homes long after relationships ended. These aren't exaggerations. They're real tactics some narcissists use to hold on or to punish. They hover like vultures around any source of attention, convinced they're entitled to your life even after they discard you. In their minds, you become an object that can come back to whenever they want. Weiss, many of you have shared how invasive it felt. The staring, the watching while you slept, the moments where you realized you were being observed. That sense of violation is common, and it's understandable that it leaves people shaken. Narcissists behave as though your life belongs to them. They move through it with the arrogance of someone who feels ownership rather than respect. That entitlement makes their behavior creepier and more dangerous, because boundaries mean nothing to them unless you enforce them. So what do you do about it? Close the door. Not for show, not as a half-hearted attempt, but as a real boundary that protects your soul. Stop answering the bait. Stop slipping back into explanations, justifications, or conversations that only feed their need for attention. You don't owe them continued involvement. Keep the door closed for your own healing and dignity. That final act of shutting the door is not cruelty, it's self-preservation. I won't pretend it's a switch you flip and forget. Some of you will keep the door cracked for weeks, months, or even years. That's human. Attachment is complicated. But one day you'll find the strength to close it. And when you do, everything shifts. You stop being their stage and start rebuilding your life without their interference. That process is messy, and it can take time. But each step toward closure is a step back into yourself. So please, for your own well-being, prioritize that boundary. Protect your space and your peace. The narcissist may try to haunt the edges of your life, but you don't have to let them in. Shut the door. Keep it shut, and give yourself permission to heal. Look, this isn't an instant fix, and that's okay. Healing and closure happen on their own timeline. It's not about rushing or beating yourself up for taking longer than someone else. It's a natural process. At the right moment, you'll find the strength to close that door for good. And when you do, you won't feel the need to look back. That's the turning point. When the energy you once poured into trying to manage, explain, or soften the narcissist finally redirects into rebuilding your life and nurturing your own growth. Even if you're only at the very beginning of your journey, you're already channeling power toward your healing. Progress is happening whether you can feel every step of it yet or not. Let them watch, if they insist on watching. From a distance, their gaze means nothing to your future. If they were family, a long-term partner, or someone who played a deep role in your life, detaching can be especially painful, and I won't pretend it's easy. You can still care for someone without staying in a position that harms your soul. Sometimes that looks like loving them from afar, wishing them well but refusing to give them access. You don't have to forgive on command, and you don't have to erase your feelings overnight. What matters is that you close the door to participation in their drama. Keep the boundary firm so your life doesn't become the stage they perform on. What I want you to reach eventually is a place of calm indifference, not anger, not obsession, but a quiet wish for them to find new distractions far away from you. Imagine wishing them off your porch, not because you're naive or overly kind, but because your peace is worth more than being a sightline in their life. If they move on to new supply, great. If they gather minions and build a new little circus somewhere else, let them. The goal is to stop being the focal point of their fixation. People in the comments sometimes say they can't forgive, and that's fine. I'm not asking for manufactured forgiveness. I'm asking you to orient your heart toward freedom. Wish that they leave your life permanently and mean it. Make no mistake, narcissists will try clever, petty, and sometimes dangerous ways to keep having access. They will send other people to hover around you, recruit flying monkeys, create fake profiles, or push third parties into your orbit so they can maintain a proxy presence. It sounds paranoid until it happens, and I've seen it enough to know it's real. They'll hack, manipulate, or orchestrate interactions just to make sure they are still in the loop. Because of that, you must be cautious, especially if you're meeting people online or opening new connections right now. Vet new people carefully, protect your accounts, and trust your instincts if something feels orchestrated. You don't owe explanations to anyone who treated you like a possession. You don't need to keep answering bait or rescuing their reputation with your silence. Closing the door is not an act of cruelty, it's self-preservation. And if you slip and open it a crack, that's human. Don't punish yourself for the learning curve. One day you'll notice the crack is sealed, and the relief will be enormous. That final closure is where your life can begin to be rebuilt, free from their drama. So keep moving toward that place. Protect your boundaries. Reinvest the energy they consumed into your health, your passions, and your relationships that actually nourish you. Let your growth be the answer to their watching. When you stop performing for them and start living for you, they lose their script, and that's when their power truly fades. They'll even recruit strangers to get close to you. A friend you barely know, an associate you met once, someone who seems harmless until you learn they're a bridge back to the narcissist. I've heard countless stories of people assuming fake identities, playing roles, or running elaborate little cons just to create an in with a target. It's the same playbook, smoke and mirrors, deception wrapped in charm. When they see you moving upward, it triggers them, and they'll do whatever it takes to stitch themselves back into your orbit. If they can't enter directly, they'll send someone else to do the legwork. That's why you can't be the one to reach back. If you offer your hand, they'll either bolt or weaponize it against you. The bridge they build is always theirs to control. When you try to cross it, you hand them leverage. This isn't about being cold-hearted. It's about boundaries and self-preservation. You've given too much before, and the pattern shows up again and again. You extend kindness, and some people treat it like permission to trample. The lesson isn't to stop being kind. It's to stop being indiscriminate with your heart. There's a spiritual element to this, too. Sometimes life, or whatever higher power you believe in, nudges you away from giving your whole self to people who will never reciprocate. That nudge can feel harsh, but it's protection disguised as a wake-up call. It's an invitation to be selective with your energy, to invest in people who match your integrity and not those who mirror your light only when it benefits them. This is hard for empaths. Your instinct is to heal and to help, but relentless generosity without discernment makes you vulnerable to being used. That doesn't mean you become bitter or start mirroring their behavior. Don't flip into cruelty or adopt a dark empath posture as revenge. The point is to become discerning, not destructive, to keep your kindness, but to aim it where it's deserved. Protect your warmth like the precious resource it is. Withhold it from those who've shown they will use it as fuel, and save it for people and places that actually nurture growth. So let them watch. If they want to stay glued to your edges, let their attention be the emptiest kind of victory. You don't need to perform for them, explain yourself, or reopen old wounds. Close the door to participation in their drama and redirect that energy into your life, your healing, your goals, your relationships with people who respect you. When you stop offering your light to those who only want to steal it, you'll stop attracting the same toxic patterns. Thanks for listening. I genuinely appreciate the support, and I hope this helps anyone who's wrestling with letting go and guarding their peace.